Hey everybody, hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Michael's Matters. Now, of course, I am Michael, and after a bit of a hiatus over this last week or so, and being sufficiently stuffed with turkey and gravy, and also getting caught up on the recent Social Security and economic numbers, like you do, I began to notice that given the way that the economy is going, is it possible that people on Social Security programs, so programs like Social Security Retirement, Social Security Disability SSDI, Supplemental Security SSI, as well as Railroad and Retirement Benefits, could they actually be in for a win in 2023? And by a win, I mean getting benefits that are up and over the intended purpose of the COLA, which is really just meant to keep people's benefits on par with the cost of living and to keep people's heads just above the water. So today we are talking about where the economy is now and if it continues, how 2023 may actually be one of the very few years that folks on Social Security programs can actually catch a break. Now, this is Michael's Matters, and before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, if you find them useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. All right, now let's get down to it. So, undoubtedly, at this point in the year, if you are on Social Security benefits, you will have heard already that for 2023, you're going to get a substantial, massive boost in your benefits through the 2023's COLA's cost of living adjustment. We all know that. It is going to be the largest in the last 40 years, and it's going to be at 8.7%. So if you didn't know, now you know. Now, in addition to that, there is going to be a very rare reprieve from Medicare, which is also decreasing its Medicare Part B premium for those seniors and older Americans who are also currently enrolled on Medicare. But the question is this enough for somebody on Social Security benefits to actually end up coming out on top to win at the game of inflation? Now, I'm not talking about becoming fabulously wealthy or having interviews with Robin Leach poolside, but what I am referring to is, would Social Security beneficiaries be better off financially in 2023 and beat inflation and come out better than they did in 2022? And the answer, come to find out, is sorta. Kinda, which is a surprise when there is so much doom scrolling right now about inflation apocalypses or people having to go back to being unretired, etc., and just the general negativity floating around for people who are interested and exposed to the updates on Social Security and retirement issues. So first, let's get down to some data. So according to the most recent CPI report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or the BLS, and again, that is the government bureau who collects and reports all the data for labor and stuff like that in our country, as of October 22nd, which is the most recent month of the overall inflation numbers, they come out to a much more subdued 7.7% since last year. This, of course, is seasonally adjusted. Now, that is the overall number, but for folks on Social Security, the most important number is actually the CPIW, or the Consumer Price Index for Urban Wage Earners, which is the number that they use to figure out how much a cost of living someone should actually get once you are on Social Security benefits. So that's how they define it for Social Security programs. Now, of course, there are a ton of arguments about why this number, the CPIW, is incorrect, or why it could be better, and how it unfairly represents seniors, and how, it doesn't really correctly calculate for their needs. But that is a story for another video. And in fact, I have another video for it. I'll put a link up here if you want to see why the CPIW is not the best criteria for seniors and their COLA. But that's, again, a story for another time. So at the moment, though, it is the only number that we have, and so that's the number we're going to use. Now, all that being said, the number of the CPIW for October was at 7.9%, so it's slightly higher than the standard CPI number. Now, why does any of this matter, and how does this mean that seniors and retirees and people on Social Security benefits could be winners this year? Well, Michael, I'm glad that you asked. This is because the first thing that we must notice is that CPIW numbers, well, they're going down. For those of us with short memories, if we remember way back to June and July, when the CPI numbers were abysmally high, all the way up to 9.1% in June, but that wasn't just that month. I mean, the numbers were also going up for previous months at 8.5 and 8.6, all the way up to the lead up of June. And there was no apparent stop to the rise in those costs, whether it was, the Putin price hike or the shipping logistical issues, gas prices, etc., etc. all that stuff seemed to culminate in a situation where inflation continued to rise. But it seems that now there are some things that have changed. So no longer are the estimates for the CPI by the end of this year, being estimated at 10%, but they are going to be at a more suitable sub 8% estimation, perhaps even lower. We'll have to see how November and December numbers look. This is where I think that folks on Social Security benefits could end up really benefiting, because the COLA increase at 8.7% for people on Social Security benefits, that's going to kick in as of January 1st. And with a continual decrease or even just a flatlining of inflation rates at the current 7.9%, that could mean that for once, they could actually get an increase in their benefits that puts them ahead of where the cost of everything is actually going, instead of just keeping up with inflation. So really sort of actually putting some additional money back into their pocket. But of course, this is not the only thing to consider, especially because after this year of 2022, many folks on Social Security benefits are already behind. In fact, they're in a hole from this year. This is because for 2022, the benefits increase for the COLA was only 5.9%, which at the time was seen as a massive, huge increase. But as of January of just this year, inflation started at 6.8%. And has gone up to as high as 9.1% in June, and only now is really starting to fall. So what that means is for each of those months where inflation stayed above 5.9%, that's the COLA for 2021 for this year, means that retirees, older Americans, and people on Social Security benefits, well, they continue to lose purchasing power for every single one of those months, even this month or even some real dollars. Now, this is not to mention the egregious Medicare Part B premium increase that also happened in 2022 because of medications that were anticipated to be covered by Medicare, but ultimately were not. But still, those seniors had to end up paying the higher Medicare Part B premiums, which is sort of an insult to injury to be added, considering that they don't get any benefit out of it. Again, another story. Also, it needs to be mentioned that although everything is looking up on the economic side, at least by the numbers right now as it sits, there are other potential risks that seniors could face with regards to their benefits. The biggest of which again, I was hoping was just political bluster, and we'll have to see it when the time comes, is Republicans saying that they will attempt to use the debt ceiling fight that is upcoming to get concessions against public programs or cuts. And those public programs mean Medicare and Social Security. Now, although realistically, there is nothing that they are suggesting in their retirement reform playbook, also known as the quote-unquote blueprint to save America, but if the government does shut down as a result of this fight, it'll undoubtedly make the lives harder for those folks who rely on government programs. And trying to get anything done, if the need does arise during that time frame, would be very difficult and challenging and potentially expensive. In addition to the fact that any changes that they could extract out of these arguments and out of these negotiations could affect programs as far as eligibility and benefits, and even when you could actually start collecting those benefits. So it is something definitely to consider and to keep on the radar. So ultimately, will people on Social Security programs like Social Security Retirement, Social Security Disability SSDI, Supplemental Security SSI, and Railroad and Va Retirement Benefits come out on top for 2023? Well, my prediction is I think they will if everything stays the same. Maybe by just a little bit, basically a hummingbird's thimble. But again, I mean, in the sense that they will beat inflation, and they might even beat the stock market and even the bonds market. I mean, if we look at the S&P right now, it's down around 14% for the beginning of 2022, even after all those crazy gains during the pandemic. But again, this, what we'll call quote unquote a win is only if we look at it from a yearly perspective of 2023. If we look at the overall time frame from 2022 and 2023, so this year and next year, I think it'll look a lot more break-even-y, given the fact that all those older Americans and retirees, they took those big hits on the Medicare Part B premiums and the inflation going up much more than the COLA did for 2022. But again, this is something that, to me, is ultimately fascinating and something that we should all really continue to follow, because the reality is that a few dollars here and a few dollars there in either direction makes a huge difference in the lives of our friends and our neighbors and our family members and you all who are out there and rely on a fixed budget. And moreover, the better we understand how the economy affects these benefits, helps us to better improve the lives and, the golden years of some of our most valuable and vulnerable members of our society, and to help protect them, and also maybe even make changes that will be solidified by the time that folks in younger generations like myself get to qualify them as well. All right, so that's it for today, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, if you found it interesting, if you found it helpful, if you at least found it useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And that way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos come out. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourself, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy